Folks, we have one of my favorite actors on the phone, and he may not actually believe that, but that's sad and true. That I am that much of a geek. I should be doing the actor studio for Titus Welliver. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent, man. I'm excellent. Thank you for having me.
I tell you what, I'm so excited, stoked. This Transformers film is going to be massive. Transformers: Age of Extinction opens up. Actually, I think we're going to Asia right now. So, tell us a little bit about the film. And we've been playing trailers and all sorts of stuff now for several weeks, and you're kind of playing a bad guy again, bro. I don't even know what to say here, but tell everybody about your role.
Yeah, I play a guy named James Savoy, who Kelsey Grammer and I work together, and my character's runs a paramilitary unit that has been tasked with the final eradication of Transformers, because they've been outlawed since the Battle of Chicago, and there's such a massive loss of human life that they are no longer welcome. As you remember from the last film, they were putting them on a big ship and sending them back into space. And the character has some history. I would not color him just as a bad guy, although certainly there's some action that he takes in the film that would definitely fall under the heading of bad guy behavior. But that being said, he is motivated from a real emotional place, and I can't ultimately reveal that until the film comes out, but it's pretty clear. But he's kind of, what's fun about Savoy is that he's kind of like the shark in Jaws. You know, when he shows up, the audience will go, "Oh, yeah, something bad is going to happen." And I don't have the John Williams strings going dun 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 dun, but you just kind of know, because when he shows up, all hell breaks loose.
Now, to join a film like this, a franchise like this, where nearly every single one.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said to join a franchise like this, a film like this, and you're there on the set, and what was it like versus what you expected? What was like some of the surprise that you were able to experience under the Michael Bay experience?
Well, the scope of this film is larger than anything I've ever worked on. I mean, just the sheer magnitude of sets, of shots, of how many moving parts are involved. I don't know that I necessarily had any kind of expectations other than I was really excited to be working with Michael Bay, who's a director that I've respected for a very, very long time. And on the note of respect, after working in this business for a few years, I finally have the respect of my children as an actor, despite the fact that I participated in a small part in Argo, which won the Oscar. The fact that I was cast in a Transformers film, my kids, now think that I'm Olivier. But
you won them over with Autobots, man. You can't do it serious.
With Autobots. Yeah, they don't care about it. Yeah, I could have gotten the best Oscar, the best actor award, and they would not care. They'd be like, "That's great." So are you gonna ever do a Transformers film?
Yeah, the man's been he's the Man in Black. He's Al Capone. He's worked with Affleck, but now he gets to play with Optimus Prime, so it's all good.
Which is really cool. I mean, in that regard, when you then get on the set and you start to see how things are done, and Michael is really great that way. He's very inclusive. He'll show you the template from which because basically what he does this incredible thing where he takes the entire script and then they do ultimately an animated, computer animated version of the entire film, which is like moving, living storyboards that Michael has. So he will show you a sequence, and it's all computer generated. And he'll go, "That's you. See, that's you running along. Here you go. Now you jump onto this, and you do that. Now you shoot your gun." And you're looking at it. And then when you look at the film, you go, "That's exactly what Michael showed me." Wow. So that speaks to his genius, in that entire film starts out in his head and then gets translated into a fully realized moving schematic or storyboard. And it's incredible. So there's no margin for error. It doesn't mean that Michael sometimes will go, "Oh, you know what? I think what I want to do is maybe try this." And it doesn't mean that he doesn't ever deviate from it, but he stays close to it because you know what? I got to say, it ain't broke, so no need to fix it.
Yeah.
And and you get very. I find him captivating because he just has a tremendous amount of energy, and he casts people, knows what they can do, and he doesn't come in and kind of micromanage you. He kind of goes, well, you know what you're doing. You know who this guy is, so just do your thing. And, you do your thing, and there's like 5 cameras operating at the same time, and you're like, well, what could they possibly be? Well, one camera's on a drop of sweat coming off of your fingertip, while another one's catching a reflection in your sunglasses, and another one is capturing, a medium close-up of your performance, and the other one is, catching a close-up of the way the wind is moving your hair. And to me, it was staggering that, from a technical place, I'd never worked on anything that technical.
I think that is the biggest thing I'm glad we're able to touch on with talking about a Michael Bay film, is because he gets bashed a lot because it's all about action and explosions or whatever, but people don't understand the multitude of moving parts and components that's happening with this. And this is before you get to, like you say, the animated version that's a backdrop of this film, the CGI reality that has to be brought to life. These cars are worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars moving around. This is an incredible project that I don't think he gets really even remotely an ounce of the credit that he probably should deserve.
Well, let me refute or call bullshit on that, because the truth of the matter is, yes, there is all of that exists in those films. Michael is a director who not only understands acting, but his primary focus, his prime directive, is to tell the story.
Yes.
And to tell the story through the characters. So to dismiss Michael as a director who merely just wants to create really cool images is not accurate. And I will say, particularly in this story, it's really the primary focus there is the story between a father and a daughter who is herself transforming into an adult woman, and his inability to see his daughter as a young woman and still sort of seeing her as a child. And it's really a story of that relationship between a single father, and a daughter, and that they are then thrust into these extraordinary circumstances in which they have to survive. But it's very, very much a story about people and relationships. So and I'm sorry, hello, Pain and Gain. Was there a lot of shit blowing up in that film?
Right,
no.
Right.
So
right. Good example.
Yeah, he's you know what, I loved working with him. One of the things that I loved about him is that he trusts his actors to do their job. So he doesn't come in and try to micromanage things. He builds a world, and then he says, step into this world and do your job. And that, to me, is as it should be. It doesn't mean that Michael wouldn't come and say, I like what you're doing. You know what? Do you want to try doing a take where you say X or the intention is Y? But he's very, very, he will constantly speak to you about, look, you know what? As an actor, I don't want to be on a set and be talking about my character. If I haven't done my homework and I'm coming to talk about my character on the day that we're shooting, then I haven't done my homework, and I'm ultimately kind of full of shit and lazy. Show up and be prepared and be a good scout. Don't come there and suck the energy out of everyone to bolster your self-confidence or your feelings of importance. Show up and be a goddamn ninja. I just don't have time for that. And Michael's extremely generous, but by the same, it's nuance. It's like just tweaking of nuance that Bay does, because he's already cast you because he knows that you can do your thing,
right?
Or you wouldn't be there.
He's handpicked you for that role, yeah.
No, well, Michael doesn't. You know what? And I don't think any good director wants to sit around and babysit the narcissism or the emotional life of an actor. Come there and be a professional.
The last question on Transformers is a really cool dynamic I think this film is going to present, and that is, how humanity responds to the tragedy that you mentioned, the attack on Chicago, and how much of sort of a realistic response we have to that, the metaphor we have for, terrorism and some different things that are happening in our real world. And it's just a very interesting dynamic that he's bringing to this tale that hasn't been addressed in the other Transformers films, and really not always addressed in many projects. I think that's a very interesting thing. I'd like to ask you to kind of to look at a little bit.
Well, I think it does. It very much speaks to the we live in times that if you succumb to the amount of fear, then how could you get out of bed in the morning? Because you're constantly in a state of what's going to happen, and there are enough real things going on in the world that do make it a bit scary at times. But what these characters, what it speaks to really is the human spirit, that when the chips come down, how do human beings rally to the best part of themselves to be brave in the face of really frightening and destructive things?
Yeah.
So I think that it very much speaks to that, rather than it just being, oh, here come the bad guys, how do we fight them?
Right.
It's the overall idea of survival in the face of something that is as ominous as these extremely powerful creatures from another world that have the ability to completely annihilate mankind, and those are really high stakes. The metaphor, obviously, in so many of the films of the 50s, with the alien invasion, such a clear, speaking so clearly to communism, the Red Scare of invasion. The idea that people thought that communists could literally come in, take over our country, and turn us all into, communists. There were people who really lived with that horror, and the idea, and there were a lot of lives that were destroyed unnecessarily by that because of that. So I think it's interesting, and this also speaks to the misunderstanding, because there's a level of paranoia that's been generated by the destruction from the previous film, and the staggering loss of human life globally, that people are suddenly say, we don't want these, we can't have these things here anymore because they can kill us, so we have to kill them. And just when it seems that it's all going to be fine, it's not. And I think, sorry, you asked me what time it is, I tell you how to make a watch, but that's sort of my my take on it.
Let's switch gears and contrast that, because you've had
Sorry, I'm losing you for a second.
You've had the privilege to work with Ben Affleck on a couple different of his films, and obviously the difference of approach is one thing, but the one thing that's also fascinating is, switching from actor to director role back and forth, and it's got to be a very interesting challenge. And from your experience on that, how was it like working in a set? The end products are just amazing. I mean, you've worked with him, I think, it's 3 times or 4 times.
I've done. I did Gone Baby Gone Town and Argo with Ben.
Right. So the end product is just amazing. So how on earth does he balance, going from actor to director and actor and director and back and forth, and try to keep that sort of honest vision?
Ben is he's a worker bee. I mean, this is a guy who's very good at multitasking and extremely smart, very, very bright guy. And I don't know, there are some people that can really do that. I think Eastwood does it very well too. He's an absolute master craftsman in both places. And Ben is just, Ben happens to be, in the same way, brilliant at both things. I mean, his performance in The Town, I still am ringing my angry bell about the fact that he was not nominated for Best Actor for The Town, because I thought his performance was absolutely impeccable.
Yes, fantastic.
Not to mention the fact that his direction of that film was, so when Argo won, I was thrilled. He should have won for Best Director as well. But, Ben, he's cool under fire. He's just cool under fire. Ben just, he moves at a pace, but he's also somebody like Michael in that he's so prepared. And Ben cuts the film in his head as he's shooting it. So I watched him argue points with Robert Elswit the DP, when we were shooting The Town, where, Bob would say, "You need a shot of X," and Ben would say, "No, I'll never use it." And Robert would say, and Robert Elswit has won some little gold statues. Let's not forget that he's that he is a total Jedi Knight in his field. But Ben absolutely got his respect because Ben is a student of film. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of film. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of the technical aspect of making a film. So if you're gonna have a conversation with him, then you better have done your homework. You know what I mean? And I also I love working with him because he's such a fun human being. He has a marvelous sense of humor, and he never loses that in the seriousness of that process of making a film.
That's what everybody says. It's just amazing. It's great stories. You also have another film coming out. I don't know too much about the release date and some of the information, but tell us a little bit about Poker Night. You're in that with Ron Perlman, and it sounds like a really cool crime thriller.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Seven. It's got a lot of twists and turns, and it's there's a very twisted serial killer in it that they are in pursuit of, and it's a smart script. I mean, it's without giving anything away. I mean, it's a young detective who's under the tutelage of these like hard-boiled detectives, and he in the presence of these guys, he's kind of learning, and so it's a good thriller. It's got a lot of really good plot twists, and the performances are excellent. And for me to work with guys that are three friends of mine, Giancarlo Esposito and Ron Eldard and Ron Perlman, to sit across the poker table looking at these guys, filled me with great happiness. Not just because I love them all, because they're my friends, but because they're serious heavyweight actors, and I knew it was going to get good, and we did. We had a lot of fun. And it was a fast shoot. It was a rapid fire shoot, so it was not. I think with a lesser group, it might have been arduous, but this was just it was just a pleasure. It was such a great pleasure, and I have not seen the film, but somebody showed me the trailer. Actually, my 15-year-old son showed me the trailer, and it looks pretty explosive, beautifully shot by Brandon, and really well directed, and I think it's going to be a good one. I like that genre. I like those films. They're particularly when they're well written and everything is not what it seems. It makes it a bit more interesting. I don't like figuring out that the butler did it, in the first 20 minutes of the film. I tend to then sort of go, well, I guess I can go because I know what it is. And with this, you don't know what the hell is going on. And there's an interesting mechanism that's used in the process of the telling of the story, in the process of teaching this young cop the ropes, which I won't expose, but I think the audience will really, really respond to it because it's something that we haven't seen before.
Awesome. That film's called Poker Night, and Titus, as you're out and about, I mean, I know you were filming Transformers, you were even in Hong Kong at one point. Do you ever really get to escape the role, being Smokey, being the Man in Black from Lost? I mean, the legacy of Lost is just now, it's still exponentially growing with the future of the stars and the future of the creators and the writers, and you got a chance to step into such an interesting and dynamic role and character.
I love Lost. I'm really proud to have been a part of something that was, to me, really important and smart and interesting, television. I think that show will absolutely survive the test of time. And what's interesting about it is that it still continues. I mean, there are other generations that are experiencing it. I have people from everywhere from their 60s and 70s down to teenagers who really have a huge love and fondness for Lost, and it's just great storytelling, and that was a wonderful character to play. I mean, such a tragic, Shakespearean kind of character. I have to say, I wish that I'd had more to have more opportunities to play that guy and sort of flesh out even more of his story. Although I'm very grateful that they did the origin episode so that you got to sort of see the whole backstory of Mark Pellegrino's and my character, and and our crazy mother, so brilliantly played by Allison Janney. I think that's like Lost with anything. It's great writing. When the bar is up there, then it's challenging, and that's what you want. I mean, as an actor, you want something that's going to kind of shake you up and move you around, which is, I've been very, very blessed in that way in my career that I've gotten to participate in stuff that is, I consider top shelf. I mean, okay, well, we can take an episode of 90210 that I did, a million years ago off that list. But
I'm not sure we can do that, Titus. I may have to keep that on the list just to make sure I have something over you, bro.
That's got to go, man. That's got to go.
We got Sons of Anarchy and 90210. We got Brooklyn South and 90210. So we at least won't put that in the title. We won't put that in the title. But he was on Deadwood and 90210.
Give me an update on Bosch, man. What's going on with Bosch? I know Amazon Prime has got this great pilot put together, but are we going to film this summer? Are we going to move ahead with a lot of this, or?
Yeah, we're going to start. I mean, that for me is the greatest gift that I could have possibly received as an actor, to get that Connolly and Overmeyer and company, welcome me to the table to play Harry Bosch. I think it's probably, without question, the most complex and interesting character that I've played to date, and it's only just beginning. And so, as I said to Michael Connolly, when he said, "Do you see yourself playing this character for years?" And I said, "Yeah, I really do." I said, "I'll play Harry as long as they'll have me," because there's an absolute, Michael, this character is just so beautifully crafted and is interesting and very, very complex. And it's just, I couldn't write a character for myself that would challenge me and move me to places that would be more interesting than Harry Bosch. I just think he's a classic anti-hero, and I gravitate towards characters like that. I mean, I've definitely played my share of villains in there, and they are fun to play. But Harry's not a villain, but he is not a cliche of he's not a guy on a white horse. I mean, he's a real anti-hero. There's some major gray areas, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to have been given this opportunity. We will start shooting in August. We'll shoot an additional 9 episodes for our first season, and God willing, and Amazon Prime willing, many more seasons. There are, as you know, many Harry Bosch books, so we have a tremendous amount of material to draw from. And what's great is that there's already this enormous global appeal and love of the books and the Harry Bosch character. So there's a tremendous amount of support and goodwill out there. I'm just, I'm over the moon. I can't wait to get back to work. I mean, I love the cast. I love the writers. It's, shooting a pilot. It's such a, you kind of jump in and you jump out. And I can't wait to get back to work and jump back into Harry's shoes.
Just ask, because people have said this, and my business partner said, didn't want to believe me, and he's had to YouTube it. So you do the best Christopher Walken. I mean, it's just fantastic, bro. And what I want to know, I'll just ask you to share. Go if you go a little bit of the Walken, but more importantly, when you get to meet the man, does it feel a little weird? Like, I've been doing impersonations of you for a couple of days now, so yeah, this feels a little awkward.
Because he's an actor who I literally tracked as a kid before I ever even became an actor or was really seriously interested in being an actor. When I saw him in Annie Hall, he has that one great scene with Woody Allen. And I remember just, like a dog, when there's a high-pitched noise, they kind of cock their head and their ears go up. And that's how I was affected by seeing Walken in that film. And then I saw The Deer Hunter and was just mesmerized. And it was, I don't know, I remember, I was a kid when I saw Annie Hall, but there was something in his inflection, the way that he spoke, his affect, and I started to imitate it, just because. But nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who Christopher Walken was. So I would do it, and they would kind of go. They would laugh because the dialogue from Annie Hall was really, really funny. But what made it funnier was the fact that when you put Walken's, iambic pentameter to it.
So the man doesn't use the comma.
No, I mean, if you put Walken to anything, something as innocuous as ordering a cheeseburger, it becomes funny, And so, no, he is one of my heroes. He's one of my heroes, and I think that, he's inspired many guys. But he's now reached a kind of epic cult, following that goes beyond his brilliance as an actor. But people are kind of obsessed with him, I can say it here and now without sounding like a complete dick that I really did Christopher Walken before anybody knew who Christopher Walken was. And then, every now and then somebody will say, "Oh, did you know that blah blah does?" And I've had to throw down before with some people with
a Walken off.
Yeah, I've had to Walken off a couple of times because, particularly with, I did a Pacino off one time with Kevin Spacey.
Oh.
And if he denies the fact that I crushed him, I have a handful of other rather well-known actors who witnessed that, who would completely verify.
What I can verify about your Pacino is the mannerisms. It's the hands tapping and the feet jiggling, and it's so Pacino that you're immersed. If they, George Lucas started us down this problem, Titus, that you really do have a career much longer than you realize, because if anything happens to Pacino, you can just step in. They'll CGI in everything they need. You've got the body language and the voice and everything else already there. Next thing you know, Lucas has immersed you into Godfather remakes and reboots and who knows whatever else.
Absolutely. Look, I would love, the funny, and that's another thing, Pacino was the same thing. I mean, I saw The Godfather, and I was entirely too young to see the film. I saw it when it first came out. My dad, for whatever reason, thought that it was an acceptable film to take his kids to. But I remember being kind of completely mesmerized by him in that film. And then I saw Serpico, and I was completely, you know, and then Dog Day Afternoon. So I did these things, and people didn't really, you know, my contemporary, we were kids, you know, I think I was 13, you know, where kids were doing like Bugs Bunny, you know, if you could do Looney Tunes impressions, you would get some play, you know, and I would do like Al Pacino, and people would be like, who? Who is that?
It's fantastic. We need to get like a line of like books where you do like Pacino doing Dr. Seuss.
Oh, I did that one time. You know who actually came up with that idea was the actor Tom Wilson, who's so well known for playing Biff.
Yes, Biff. Back to the Future, yeah.
And without a question, maybe one of the funniest human beings on the planet. But we did a film together years ago, a kids movie called Born to Be Wild, and we played cop partners in the film. It was a comedy, really, really a lot of fun to do, and the late great Peter Boyle was in it. And Tom, the director John Gray, who's known for Ghost Whisperer, but also some great films. He did White Irish Drinkers and The Lost Capone, some other films. I did like 4 or 5 films with him. He told Tom Wilson that I did these impressions, and so Tom, and I've always been sort of shy about it, not wanting to do it, and because I felt like it was kind of private and it was funny in the garage, if you were stoned. And so I did it, and Tom actually said, it would be great, would be to do Walken and Pacino reading Green Eggs and Ham.
It's fantastic.
So, one night I decided that we had to put it to the test, and it's really true. Reading Dr. Seuss as not just Green Eggs and Ham or any of those books is so goddamn funny that not because I'm saying that but it was really Tom Wilson who came up with that. So thank you, Tom.
All right. Well, Titus, I appreciate all the time that you've given us. It's been a great chance to share with our fans, not only about Transformers that comes out, but many of your other projects. And I'm really looking forward to the Harry Bosch. That's probably the best news I've had all day, was to know that is confirmed and ready to go in August and get you up and running on that. 'Cause like you said, a plethora of material to pull from. And then, of course, Poker Night as well. So just a great time for you, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
All right, sounds good. Take care of yourself.
You too, man. Take care.
Right, bye.